Salutations, people of the internet, welcome to the database. For this video, I'll be looking over the third game in the Crash Bandicoot original and Sane Trilogy, found on this collection of the same name and on the original PlayStation. So if you haven't gotten the chance to watch my review takes on Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2, I'll provide video links to those two videos down below. Feel free to watch them before or after this video. Released in 1999, Naughty Dog wanted to give the Crash Bandicoot game one last banger before the ownership rights of the marsupial were expired, and before Universal Studios claimed back its IP. With this in mind, before the days of the precursor legacies and hair-shaven girl bosses, Naughty Dog figured if they wanted to up the stakes from what they've accomplished in the previous games, they need to make it a time travel plot. Story-wise, it won't complicate things, as the time travel gimmick is used as an excuse to throw in different level themes that they can come up with. Of course, if I wanted to, I could make a time travel joke here, but I'm gonna be unoriginal for this one.
Time travel! What? I see this as an absolute win.
So, how did Crash Bandicoot and Naughty Dog cap off the original trilogy? How did this time-traveling adventure come to be? Should I stop asking stupid questions? Let's dive into
Sony Computer Entertainment America presents a Universal Interactive Studios production. A game created and developed by Naughty Dog. Crash Bandicoot 4! Press start to begin.
Carrying off on the last game, the Cortex Vortex crash lands on Earth. This opened a seal that awakens an ancient mask named Uka Uka. Uka Uka being the evil counterpart and brother to our marsupial hero's ancient mask, Aku Aku. Uka Uka scolds Dr. Cortex for failing his plans of world domination over the past two attempts, with Dr. Cortex begging him for another chance. Afterwards, Uka Uka sends in the help of a time traveler named Nefarious Tropy, Entropy for short. He's a person who grants our heroes and villains access to the game's central hub device, the Warp Room. Meanwhile, over at what I assume is Crash's house, Aku Aku sends the awakened evil of Uka Uka, and our heroes are off to the Warp Room to stop Cortex, Entropy, and their band of villains once more. Though in terms of this merry band of villains, more than half of them are returning ones from the previous game. Tiny Tiger returns and his boss fight sees you with the Roman Colosseum, dodging ferocious animals at your wake, and hitting Tiny at his most vulnerable. Engine returns and this time you see yourself piloting Coco inside her spaceship, shooting different parts of Engine's mech like last time. Cortex here teams up with Aku Aku, kinda. Truth is, it's you as Crash against Dr. Cortex, while at the same time dodging Aku Aku and Uka Uka attacking each other. So naturally, there are obstacles that you have to avoid until Cortex removes his protective shield, and then you get the chance to smack him into this hole. The two new bosses come in the form of Dingodile and Entropy. Dingodile is a half dingo and half crocodile hybrid that carries a flamethrower, and arguably one of the best bosses in the series has alongside Engine. Having Dingodile destroy these walls of crystals and open up a path for you to hit him and escape before this fire tank explodes. Looks like things have gotten too spicy for the pepper. Entropy sees you dodging his attacks like normal, as well as platforming towards him, while the background set piece changes after each hit, the best and memorable parts of this boss fight.
Now you're on my time, you little skunk! Give me the crystals!
Speaking of Dr. Cortex and Entropy, let's fast forward to the end of the game. After defeating Dr. Cortex one more time, this leads to a cutscene with Cortex and Uka Uka, where they taunt you for not getting the one last additional form of collectibles that are introduced in this game, the Time Relics. I'll go over the Time Relics in the next segment, but for now, after getting all the Time Relics and beating Cortex again, you'll get another hidden cutscene where Uka Uka and Cortex are pulled into the Time Vortex. And with our heroes celebrating, the game ends with a shot of baby versions of Cortex and Entropy playing a little game of tug-of-war on Uka Uka, ending Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Like the previous games, Crash had the same moveset from his basic spin attack to his crouch and slide jumping. And for this game, for the first time in the Crash Bandicoot series, Crash is given new moves to play around with after beating each boss. Example, after beating Tiny Tiger, you'll unlock the Super Belly Flop ability that lets you break those reinforced crates with ease. After beating Dingodile, you'll get the Double Jump ability. After beating Entropy, you'll get the Death Tornado Spin, allowing you to gain more airtime and distance after jumping. Beating Engine gets you the Fruit Bazooka for boxes and obstacles that are hard to reach. And finally, after beating Dr. Cortex on your first playthrough, you'll get the Super Speed Shoes. On the surface, it would seem pointless to get this kind of upgrade this late in the game. But remember the Time Relics that I briefly mentioned in the last segment? Well, strap in your seatbelts and cut your butt cheeks, cause here we fucking go. Whenever you revisit an old stage you completed, you'll notice a gold-yellow stopwatch at the beginning. Touching that clock transformed this stage into a time trial stage, where you race against the clock, beating the stage with the fastest time possible. You won't get any Wumpa Fruits or extra lives, but instead you'll have Aku Aku Mask for additional hit points and invincibility. And some boxes are replaced with time stoppers, yellow boxes with numbers labeled on them that stop the timer for a certain amount of time. Alongside with getting the Time Relics in general to get the hidden good ending, there is also one hidden gem you can nab if you manage to complete all the stages with a gold relic. Time Relics reward you in 3 different colors. The Sapphire Relics are basically a loser's participation trophy for just trying the time trials. The time requirements are easy to get, and it's the minimum requirement for the alternate ending. The gold relics are a requirement needed for that one last hidden gem that you need to get from Crash's sister Coco. Their timestamps are a little stricter, and these relics require your knowledge of all the ability that you acquire throughout your adventure. Fucking platinum relics on the other hand. Oh good lord, the moment of carpal tunnel I received for getting platinum relics in this game is not a laughing matter. Getting platinum relics require not just your mastery of all the abilities gifted to you in the game, but also mastery and memorized knowledge of the entire stage and its level design. Making sure you take shortcuts that aren't reckless, because dying during the time trial mode resets you to the beginning of the stage. Ensuring you manage your Aku Aku Mask, whether to take damage or hits for the sake of invincibility frames, or hell, save them for invincibility power-ups and speed boosts, and all the yellow time stoppers matter. Does it sound exhausting? Of course it is, and you get jack shit for getting all of them. Oh yeah, I'm not joking. These platinum relics are nothing but bragging rights in Crash 3. Like I said, you only need the gold relics for the hidden box gem from Coco. Platinum relics don't give you shit, so I just wasted some of my time getting this much platinum relics on both the PS1 version, on the PS Vita, and on my copy of the Sane Trilogy. Well, speaking of Coco, let's talk about Crash's sister. In the original PlayStation 1, Coco is kind of a playable in the non-platforming stages of the game. You can play as her in the normal Crash stages in the Insane Trilogy in all 3 games, but for the sake of this game, Coco gets stages exclusively for her. These include a couple of animal riding auto runners where Coco rides on top of Pura the tiger across the Great Wall of China, riding a jet ski across the shores of Insane Beach, with controls that feel good in the PlayStation original, but are shit to control in the Insane Trilogy. and a couple of plane segments which aren't something to write home about, except for the one time where you go through rings while racing other pilots. If those stages weren't enough for your Coco Bandicoot fix, as mentioned earlier, she's also available in Crash 1 and 2, though for stages that aren't platforming related, like the hog riding section in Crash 1 or the jetpack stages in Crash 2, you can't play as her there, only Crash for those. At least, it's the thought that counts. Platforming wise, she shared the same moves as her brother, only difference is rather than a belly flop, she does a butt ground pound. I don't know, she carries a laptop around? Yeah, that's it. Well, since I've gone over the Sane Trilogy and used footage from that collection, Crash 3 and 1 have content exclusive to this collection. Crash 1 features Stormy Ascent, a stage that was cut from the original game's release due to it being too difficult for Crash 1 standards. Yeah, think about that. And knowing how stiff Crash was handled in that game, that's really saying something. On normal playthrough, if you're getting all the boxes for the box gem, it's actually not that bad. Not easy, but much like Slippery Climb, it's manageable. Good fucking luck getting the Platinum Relic though. As for Crash 3, this game is giving us a whole new stage never before seen. This stage is named Future Tense, and this was made entirely by the developers of the Insane Trilogy, Vicarious Visions, who also worked on the Crash Bandicoot games for the Game Boy Advance. And this stage will test you hard, using all the tools and skills you learned up to this point. And if you don't have all the abilities from all the bosses, there is no way for you to complete this stage, especially when this stage has a hidden death route and having to attempt a Platinum Relic. I have my fair share of Platinum Relics in the Insane Trilogy and such, not to mention the PS1, but someday, someday, I will try to get all the Platinum Relics. My final grade for Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped is an A rank. I really want to give this game the S rank, mostly because of the new abilities Crash and Coco have for platforming stages, and the bosses were really entertaining this time around. But the time relics, as much as a staple as they are for the Crash Bandicoot series, have really ruined my hands for the time being. How other Crash players manage to deal with these relics are freaking astonishing. One thing that I also want to give Crash 3 credit are the different locales that this game offers for stages. From the medieval times to the scaling on top of Arabian buildings, from prehistoric jungles to a futuristic setting where Cortex rules. This game features some of the most variety of stages a Crash Bandicoot game has to offer. Although the swimming stages aren't anything to write home about. You may have noticed I haven't talked about the soundtrack as much. Compared to the soundtrack for Crash 2, I guess I don't have much of an impression with Crash 3's OST, save for the boss music I guess. What's really cool, and here's something that ties into another game like all my videos. If you're playing Crash 3 on the PlayStation 1, you can input a code that lets you play a demo version of Spyro 1. This also applies to Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash, where you can play demos of Spyro's 2 and 3 respectively. Though maybe I'll cover Crash Team Racing for another time. So what are your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped? Do you want me to cover Crash Team Racing later this year? Or what other games, Crash Bandicoot related or not, you want me to cover? Let me know in the comments, and I won't read them. I'm Christopher James, and I'll see you next time.